How clever President William Samoei Ruto is tantamount to a house help who humbles themselves before their boss, takes the kids to school, cleans the compound. But contrary to all this, they then cheat with his wife. And imagine, with all the smartness that is seen in President William Samoei Ruto, he fails to see that Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, fired David Ndii. The late President Mwai Kibaki fired David Ndii. And the antics of it all is that President William Samoei Ruto sees David Ndii as an economic genius. And the earlier President William Samoei Ruto fires David Ndii, it is when he will start getting some economic solutions right. A friend of mine had been telling me that President William Samoei Ruto is currently surrounded by very incompetent leaders. However pedestrian that view was, but from where he sits and from David Ndii's history, I kid you not, it's actually made some sense. And I'm saying this in conjunction to yesterday's daily newspaper, whereby it had stated categorically that Treasury had admitted that the government-to-government oil deal that was signed early last year had flopped. And this actually reminded me of President William Samoei Ruto standing in a podium somewhere to castigate and link the high fuel prices to cartels.
There will be questions by the people of Kenya, and they are perfectly entitled to interrogate our actions. We must work in such a manner that we can answer every question. For example, I am very happy that when the opposition is asking us about the G2G petroleum engagement, we can confidently tell them all the documentation is public. All the agreements are public. And I can say without fear of any contradiction that this whole exercise, before even I took the oath of office, the leadership of all oil marketers came to see me, and they were stranded, looking for dollars from corner to corner. In fact, there was stock out in many parts of Kenya. Many petrol stations were closed. And I can confirm to the country that the G2G petroleum products engagement with our international oil companies is above board, is transparent, is innovative, and it has made the biggest difference in our country. If we hadn't been innovative, we would have driven the country in the direction that was going then, of more subsidies, greater debt, more confusion, and the whole of that space. Let me say this for the record, confidently for the record, that the purpose of the G2G agreement, the government to government, and I have talked to MBS and MBZ, the two leaders of UAE and Saudi, and they have gone out of their way to support our country.
Few days later, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, I remember seeing him in a podium somewhere telling Kenyans that the government-to-government deal that they had signed with the UAE country was very scandalous. But guess what? The Kenya Kwanza government, I remember seeing Kimani Ichung'wah blatantly refuting the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga's statement.
Azimio leader Raila Odinga is accusing EPRA boss Daniel Kiptoo of taking part in negotiations for the government-to-government oil deal that he says remains a grand scam. During a special parliamentary group meeting, Odinga accused the EPRA boss of insincerity in the deal, while at the same time training his guns on National Assembly leader Kimani Ichung'wah for defending the government on the same. Stephen Lator reports.
For the second day running, Azimio leader Raila Odinga has continued to pile pressure on the government to withdraw from the government-to-government oil deal struck with the government of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Odinga says EPRA boss Daniel Kiptoo had a role in the negotiations in the G2G deal that was supposed to stabilize fuel prices.
Why EPRA boss, Mr. Kiptoo, was involved in the negotiations of this contract, yet he is the one also who is here fixing prices. If that is not corruption, I don't know what corruption is.
Yesterday, Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir defended the government-to-government oil deal, terming it as above board. In a similar cue, National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah led Kenya Kwanza lawmakers in dismissing Odinga's claims on the oil deal. Odinga says the defense is a diversionary tactic.
The other ones basically just talk and say hot air. I don't know which hot air, where that guy is coming from. And this is supposed to be majority leader of government. I think, the matter was directed at the executive, not at the legislature. So it is not work of Mr. Ichung'wah to respond.
Odinga maintains that the oil deal that has 3 local partners remains questionable and demands that the government makes public the MOU signed in April.
The issues are raised and they're still valid. I want the government to show the memorandum of understanding that they've signed between the government of the Republic of Kenya and the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the government of the United Arab Emirates.
He added that the 3 companies picked to spearhead the G2G deal do not pay the 30% corporate tax, costing the country billions of shillings. Odinga further maintained that the deal is shrouded in secrecy, and to date the supplier purchase agreement between the Middle East oil firms and their hand-picked distributors in Kenya has not been made public.
The Kenya Kwanza administration has told of Azimio leader Raila Odinga over claims that government-to-government oil importation is a scam. Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, who led a number of Kenya Kwanza legislators, termed the alleged dossier as nothing short of hot air and political propaganda. The leader has accused Odinga of using the alleged dossier to score cheap political points so as to resuscitate his dwindling political fortunes.
His purported dossier lacked any substance and is evidently part of his usual propaganda rumor mills. Mr. Odinga, however, rightfully stated that the Kenya's Ministry of Energy and Petroleum did sign a deal with state-owned petroleum companies in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, Aramco in Saudi Arabia and ADNOC in the United Arab Emirates. Please underline that it was Mr. Odinga who asserted that indeed there is a signed contract between the Ministry of Petroleum in Kenya and state-owned petroleum companies from Saudi Arabia and UAE. Our question therefore to Mr. Odinga is, what further definition of government to government would this be seeking if a contract signed between a state-owned enterprise in Saudi Arabia and one in UAE. And a state ministry in Kenya is not government to government. What then is his new definition of government to government? Because this contract is signed, as he asserted himself, between the state-owned enterprises.
Few months later, here we are being told that the government-to-government oil deal has flopped with reasons best known to them. I honestly feel that this is the right time that President William Samoei Ruto should come up and tell Kenyans the truth, simply because lies are not sustainable, and more so, he can never run the economy using propaganda. And with this government-to-government oil deal failing, I kid you not, a vast majority of Kenyans, it has come to their attention that the Kenya Kwanza government could be running the economy through trial and error. And by the way, if I may just ask, what happened to the Lokichar oil that was being transported to Mombasa? But honestly, that has just been my opinion. If you do have a contrary opinion to mine, kindly feel free to drop them in the comment section and I'll give them a right of reply. And as I come to the penultimate part of this video, in case if you're watching me for the very first time, kindly just feel free to click on the subscribe button. If you've been watching my videos and you have not subscribed, kindly just consider hitting on the subscribe button. And more so, if you're watching me from a different platform, either Telegram, TikTok or Facebook, kindly just head on over to YouTube, search for Sultan Sudi. I'll be the first right person to pop up. If matters socio-economic and political matters are your great areas of concern, kindly do feel free to click on the subscribe button so that each and every time that I upload a new video, it will automatically reflect on your notification panel. And by so doing, you'll simply be supporting my content. Thank you, and may God bless you.
In fact, in the next 1 month or so, you will see dollars coming down, the exchange rate coming down in a very phenomenal way. In fact, in my estimation, in the next couple of months, the dollars will come, the exchange rate will come below 120 shillings. Maybe 115, you never know.
So those who have been holding dollars everywhere, hoping that it will continue going up, it will go down, starting today, tomorrow, the day after. So you have a few dollars that you are still holding, please let them go to the market and you'll come to thank me for it after a week or two.